Hi there. We are now going to do lesson 133. I will not value what is valueless. Paragraph 1. Sometimes in teaching there is benefit, particularly after you have gone through what seems theoretical and far from what the student has already learned, to bring him back to practical concerns. This we will do today. We will not speak of lofty, world-encompassing ideas, but dwell instead on benefits to you. Paragraph 2. You do not ask too much of life, but far too little. When you let your mind be drawn to bodily concerns, to things you buy, to eminence of as valued by the world, you ask for sorrow, not for happiness. This course does not attempt to take from you the little that you have. It does not try to substitute utopian ideas for satisfactions which the world contains. There are no satisfactions in the world. I want to repeat sentence number 1. This is really, really key. You do not ask too much of life, but far too little. Most of us have become conditioned to believe that just the one job that we have, the income that we make, the one house that we have, the little bit that we have is everything to us. That actually becomes something that we become attached to, and we need to protect at all costs, and it confines us to that being our reality of what is possible. Let me keep reading here. So paragraph 3, today we list the real criteria by which to test all things you think you want. Unless they meet these sound requirements, they are not worth desiring at all, for they can but replace what offers more. The laws that govern choice you cannot make, no more than you can make alternatives from which to choose. The choosing you can do, indeed you must. That is our work, is to choose. But it is wise to learn the laws that you set in motion when you choose, and that alternatives you choose between, and what alternatives you choose between. So key thing here. The choosing you can do, indeed you must, but it is wise to learn the laws that you set in motion when you choose. Every single time we choose, we're setting laws in motion. And now we need to see what alternatives are there for us to choose between. Paragraph 4. We have already stressed that there are but two, however many they appear to be. The range is set, and this we cannot change. There are but two choices we're always choosing between. That's it. It would be most ungenerous to you to let alternatives be limitless and thus delay your final choice until you had considered all of them in time and not been brought so clearly to the place where there is but one choice that must be made. So here we're being told that there are two choices, but we have to make the one. Paragraph 5. Another kindly and related law is that there is no compromise in what your choice must bring. Again, every choice leads to a specific consequence, leads to a specific result. Every cause has one effect. So we have to be really clear about that. Cause and effect are one. What you give your attention to, you receive from that what it is that you value. So sentence number 2 now in paragraph 5, it cannot give you just a little, for there is no in between. Whatever you choose gives you all of it. Each choice you make brings everything to you or nothing. Therefore, if you learn the tests by which you can distinguish everything from nothing, you will make the better choice. So we're establishing here, Jesus is helping us realize that we want to value what brings us everything, so we can see and let go of the valueless, which brings us nothing. Paragraph 6. First, if you choose a thing that will not last forever, what you choose is valueless. A temporary value is without all value. So if you choose let's say a marriage, a temporary thing to give you love, You're choosing something that is valueless because marriage doesn't bring you love. So we are being invited to choose here what is eternal, right? What is everything. So love comes from in here. So instead of looking at the marriage to bring you love, looking at the partner to bring you love, we're looking to how can we bring the love to the others, because as we give it, we receive it. Why? Because we only give to ourselves. And it's what has value because God placed it in us. So sentence number 2 in paragraph 6, a temporary value is without all value. Time can never take away a value that is real. So if you just date for a little time, 6 months, 3 years, let's say you're married for 30 years and then you get divorced or break up or whatever. Well, if it can end in time, then it wasn't real love to begin with. What fades and dies was never there and makes no offering to him who chooses it. So if you look at a body that is going to decay and end, it comes and it goes, it's birth and death, then it's not really offering you anything that is really there, because it's going to fade, it's going to expire, it's not permanent, it really truly has no value. He is deceived by nothing in form he thinks he likes. We're always being deceived by things that appear to be in form. The next job is going to give me something. The next car is going to give me something. The next jewelry, the next outfit, the next golf outing, the next vacation, the next promotion, the next stock option. Paragraph 7. Next, if you choose to take a thing away from someone else, you will have nothing left. If you choose to take it from them, you won't have nothing left. This is because when you deny his right to everything, you have denied your own. Why? Because to give is to receive. I give the taking of something. I give the withholding from them. Then I cannot enjoy that thing because now I'm protecting it. It's just sets up a dynamic where I cannot be at peace with it. I cannot be at one with it. I don't have everything because I've taken a little something and valued that over recognizing that all of it is there. So let them have it. Paragraph 7, sentence 3, you therefore will not recognize the things you really have, denying they are there. So back to my relationship with Ken. He was wanting to take his money from me, which is his. That's why I said, do a post-nup. Take my name off of the accounts. Yes to the divorce, whatever helped him feel like he was taking his possessions back. But what he was denying what was actually there. So let me read this again. You therefore will not recognize the things you really have, the love that was there, the connection that was there, because he was denying that they were there because his attention was towards the money that he was believing he was losing, the possessions he thought he was losing. So he couldn't be present to what he was losing at the same time if he was present to what he actually did have that had value. So when the attention goes to what has no value, which is a temporary stuff that he thinks he's losing, he is denying what is actually there. That was the love of God coming from him to give to me. He was denying that that was there because he was focused on what he was trying to take and protect for himself. Who seeks to take away has been deceived by the illusion loss can offer gain. So he was believing that the loss of the love that we had would gain him his safety and his abundance, would gain him the protection that he believed money gave him. Yet lost must offer loss and nothing more. So when you lose love, which is all there is, which is what God is, which is what then we go on to chase with somebody else. So he had to go get that from somebody else. But he had it with me, but he took his attention off of it because he focused on the money that he thought had more value than the love that was actually there. Paragraph 8. Your next consideration is the one on which the others rest. Key here. Why is the choice you make of value to you? Why? Why is that choice important? What attracts your mind to it? What purpose does it serve? Here is the easiest of all to be deceived. Here it is easiest of all to be deceived. For what the ego wants, it fails to recognize. It does not even tell the truth as it perceives it, for it needs to keep the halo which it uses to protect its gold from tarnish and from rust, that you may see how innocent it is. So I asked Ken over and over and over again, why do you not trust me? And he could never give me an answer. He refused to give me an answer. Oh, I trust you. Why do you believe I'm cheating on you? Couldn't give me an answer. Who do you think I'm cheating with? No answer. Usually when I ask these questions, he would return with, oh, you think you're so enlightened. So it became very evident that he could not answer those questions. When I began to read this lesson, oh my gosh, it changed everything for me. He could not answer. His ego wouldn't let him answer that he was scared. His ego would not let him answer that he felt that there was lack of money, that he was scared that he didn't have enough. He was scared that I was going to spend it. Even though he couldn't provide evidence, when I would say to him, so what attracts you to this money? What attracts you to the divorce? No answer. Absolute refusal to answer. Why? Because the ego wants, for what the ego wants, it fails to recognize. It could not tell me the value of the money over our relationship. He said, this will make our relationship stronger. Well, how can protecting something and valuing that more than our love make our relationship stronger? Because he was building walls between us, which obviously I contributed to as well. It does not even tell the truth as it perceives it. The ego will not say, oh, because I'm scared, because he was not going to admit that he had fear. He could not see that fear was driving what was happening. He could not admit that he was fear of being rejected. If he could have said that, which obviously to me it was, that's the basis of all of it, we could have addressed what was actually happening. But because there was denial of what was actually happening, which was this fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being loved, fear of not being considered worthy enough of my attention, even all of that was being given to him, he couldn't believe that it was his fear that was activating his decisions. Let's see. So paragraph 9. Yet is its camouflage a thin veneer, which could deceive but those who are content to be deceived. He wanted to believe that it was not about fear, that it was the best way to preserve our friendship, the best way to preserve our relationship. And even though he said, let's be friends after he got a girlfriend, he doesn't reply to the friendly text that I've sent, like, hey, I've been thinking about you, hope you're doing well. Those go ignored. Let's get together for coffee. We're friends. Let's just say hi. Those texts do not get answered. Why? Because he is content deceiving himself that he protected himself. He did the right thing to make us closer when the actual, what he's actually doing is just making us further and further apart, even though we're one in God's eyes because God created us as one energy. Sentence number 2 in paragraph 9. Its goals are obvious to anyone who cares to look at them. You have to look at them. This is why the clients that I coach, the ones who will go the furthest are the ones who let me really call them on those beliefs that they have. Why did you do that? Why did you believe that? What is the gain? What is the benefit? What is the value to yelling? What is the value that you see to being righteous? When you can really get to that level that you are vulnerable enough to really go to being questioned, to have your beliefs being truly questioned, that's when the magic really begins to happen, because that's when you can begin to see the BS that your ego is telling you. Here is deception doubled. Its goals are obvious to anyone who cares to look at them. Here is deception doubled. For the one who is deceived will not perceive that he has merely failed to gain. Ken really must have believed that to pull his money from me, that he willingly gave to share, because when he was in pure love, everything was to be shared. I never abused it, but he couldn't see that because the past was telling him protect it, so he began to pull it away. He does not recognize that he has merely failed to gain. He did not gain the love that was there for us to experience and gain my ability to share and contribute to that well. He does not see that by pulling what he had, he said no to more that could come through our relationship. He will believe that he has served the ego's hidden goals. Of course he does. Paragraph 10, yet though he tries to keep its halo clear within his vision, like, yeah, my ego's so innocent, what I did was so good and so perfect and so loving, still must he perceive its tarnished edges and its rusted core. His ineffectual mistakes appear as sins to him, because he holds upon the tarnish as his own, the rust a sign of deep unworthiness within himself. I have no doubt that when Ken gets quiet and alone, parts of him feel guilt, parts of him feel question, doubt about what he did. And I don't want him to suffer. So that's why I forgive him, and I told him he never did anything wrong to me, that we both just let our egos get away with destroying our relationship, but it wasn't him, it was just strictly ego, that I still love him and I still will be his friend and I still value him, and I see only his magnificence. Because I don't want him to feel guilt about what he did, but it's going to happen because something inside of us knows that there was a love that we did not nurture. He who would still preserve the ego's goals and serve them as his own makes no mistakes according to the dictates of his guide. So yes, in his mind, he did the right thing. He chose right over being happy. This guidance teaches it is error to believe that sins are but mistakes. For who would suffer for his sins if this were so? The guidance of the ego teaches that it is error to believe that sins are but mistakes. So it is an error for him to believe that it was a mistake to think that I was cheating on him, that it was a mistake and to forgive me for anything that I might have said or done. His ego doesn't want him to believe that what I did, the potential of me cheating, could be just a mistake. It has to be a sin that deserved punishment, and the punishment that I deserved was to be cast out of his life, to be cast out of his finances, to be cast out of the marriage, because he was protecting himself, because he's the innocent one. His ego wants him to see the halo on him by not questioning the fears behind why he would do what he did. Paragraph 11. And so we come to the criterion for choice that is the hardest to believe. This is where we get stuck, right here. Because its obviousness is overlaid with many levels of obscurity. If you feel any guilt about your choice, you have allowed the ego's goals to come between the real alternatives. See, the many levels of obscurity, it was not, he couldn't see that he thought what I could do to him was really what he feared his wife did to him. He couldn't see, what did you do to be part of that dynamic in that past relationship? What did you do to be part of the dynamic of somebody who cheats on you in your first marriage? So you got two marriages that have done this. What was your part? The ego doesn't want us to see our part. The ego doesn't want us to see our own dysfunction. What is it in your childhood that is creating this? What is it that's causing you to be so fearful? If you have so much money, wouldn't you be confident? Wouldn't you want to share it? Wouldn't you know you can make more? Wouldn't you gladly want others in your family to enjoy it? So what are all the need to control? What are all these fears around money about? If you peel down into the layers, you would begin to see all of these dark experiences that we have had, all of these beliefs in lack and limitation and unworthiness that stem from childhood and past lives too, if you want to go that far. But here's the thing, its obviousness is overlaid with many levels of obscurity. If we cannot question why we do what we do, we will never know why we do what we do, and we think we're justified in what we do because it's all about a belief that it's how I protect myself. You make yourself your own authority. Now, God is not your authority. You don't believe in abundance because you got to hoard. You don't believe in love because you got to withhold it. It's fascinating. If you feel any guilt about your choice, you have allowed the ego's goals to come between the real alternatives, and thus you do not realize there are but two, and the alternative you think you choose seems fearful and too dangerous to be the nothingness it actually is. The alternative you choose seems fearful. I better hold my money because she might take it from me. I better hold it, withdraw before she spends it. I better divorce her before she tries to, take this from me. All of that, if he could have seen that he was afraid. Only fear causes us to protect, but he would never admit that he was fearful. Only fear caused me to protect. When I was lashing out, trying to defend myself, trying to prove how good I was, it was out of fear. If I would have been comfortable, I would have said, let it go from the get-go. I said it at times, and then I went back to fear. I said it at times and went back to fear until finally because of the Course in Miracles and practicing these lessons, just totally let it go. I wanted to stand in my truth and just had to release it. And there went that relationship. There was nothing I could do to convince him to see his fears. I was talking about my fears. I wanted to address them, but he didn't want to address his. Why? Because it's scary. When we're listening to that voice that tells us don't go there, we cannot go there. That's why it requires a lot of willingness, a little willingness, a lot of courage to excavate these ideas that the ego has us believe that are true, that are not. Paragraph 12. All things are valuable or valueless, worthy or not of being sought at all, entirely desirable or not worth the slightest effort to obtain. Choosing is easy just because of this. Complexity is nothing but a screen of smoke, which hides the very simple fact that no decision can be difficult. This is why with Dan, for me, it is very simple. I choose love, joy, peace, freedom, trusting God, because if this relationship doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I maintain my freedom. I maintain my connection to God. I maintain my integrity. I maintain my peace. I don't need to get anything from him, because if I don't need to get anything from him, there's nothing he can take from me. So I bring my wholeness to the relationship. It works great. I share my wholeness. If it doesn't, I take my wholeness with me. Why? Because my abundance comes from God, from me doing my work, listening to what I get inspired to do. If Ken trusted that he could create more abundance, he wouldn't be so fearful of what he had. So in this case, the decision is not difficult. It can never be difficult, because if I feel free to walk away with nothing, it's because I'm trusting. If he is fearful I would take something from him, it's because he's not trusting. It's so simple. Here, complexity is nothing but a screen of smoke. The complexity of the list of assets, of the this, the that, oh my gosh, it was so crazy, which hides the very simple fact that no decision can be difficult. What is the gain to you in learning this? It is far more than merely letting you make choices easily and without pain. It's a powerful lesson. Heaven itself is reached with empty hands and open minds, which come with nothing to find everything and claim it as their own. I had to empty my hands of being attached to him. I had to empty my hands of him being the source of love and safety and passion and connection and joy for me. I had to let go of that, because in letting go of that, in my empty hands, guess what shows up? Another potential relationship, another lover. I trusted that if he left, I wasn't afraid of being alone. If he left, I wasn't afraid that I wasn't going to have money and everything that I needed. Actually, that sent me almost 4 years ago into a journey of surrendering. I had to surrender to realize that I was taken care of by my connection to the truth, by recognizing my worthiness, by realizing that everything has always been provided for me. It was just when I thought it was coming from Ken that I suffered, but once I realized, no, my whole life I've been supported, because I love working, I love sharing, I love giving, and through that I always received. So what I had to do was, instead of being comfortable with somebody taking care of me and me not giving so much of myself because I was pulling myself in, shrinking, I then began to put myself out there, begin to do my work, and then the abundance began to flow. So easy, so naturally. My joy began to flow. My happiness began to flow. I began to be the dancer again. I began to be the tennis player again. I began to be the person who could laugh at things again, because I didn't have somebody who was afraid that my laughter meant that I was putting him down. So as all those things began to flow again, I attract more work, more clients, more opportunities, more people who want me to teach and throw workshops, and and things like that. And then I attract this wonderful lover. I attract a dancer. I attract a girl who said, oh, I want you to be my tennis player. All of these things just began to show up in my experience. Why? Because I was saying, I trust what has value. There's a creative force that I am inside of that emanates from within me. That is what I am going to value. Sentence number 2 in paragraph 13. Well, let me read the sentence number 1 again. Heaven itself is reached with empty hands and open minds. I needed to let my mind go, let my thoughts go, that it came from anybody in particular, that it came from any job in particular. I had to open up my mind. I had to let go of attachments. That's how you open up your hands, which come with nothing, to find everything and claim it as their own. I have access to everything because now it doesn't have to come from any one specific area. My hands are free to receive from wherever. We will attempt to reach this state today with self-deception laid aside and with an honest willingness to value but the truly valuable and the real. Our 2 extended practice periods of 15 minutes each begin with this: I will not value what is valueless, and only what has value do I seek, for only that do I desire to find. This is where Jesus and Buddha, when they died, they didn't have an estate, they didn't have a house, they didn't have more than one outfit that they wore, they didn't have pots and pans, they didn't have anything to their name, because they trusted that God was with them all the way. That creativity was inside of them, pulling to them the right people at the right times for the synchronistic encounters, for where two gathered, there was love, there was possibility, everything was taken care of. It doesn't mean, though, that we're meant to not want things, that we're meant to not have things or not desire abundance, because when you realize that you're playing with it, now you're using it for the greater good of all. Of course you're going to have a lot of it when it can flow through you. But when you need to hoard it, even though you might have a lot of it, you're giving up the freedom of your happiness, your freedom of your love and your peace, because you're constantly worried about somebody taking from it. You can't share it because you're afraid. I witnessed that firsthand. It's absolutely amazing. Paragraph 14. And then receive what waits for everyone who reaches. Remember, we're reaching to that door, where we have to be willing to open that door that is in our mind and go below the noise and access God that is there to inspire us with new ideas, with new ways, new things to bring to market, to share, to offer to others that are helpful, that uplift them. Let me read 14 again. And then receive what waits for everyone who reaches unencumbered to the gate of heaven, which swings open as he comes. We have to come to that gate and it will swing open. Should you begin to let yourself collect some endless burdens or believe you see some difficult decisions facing you, be quick to answer with this simple thought: I will not value what is valueless, for what is valuable belongs to me. Why? Because God gave it to me. And that's what really matters. We have to own that we've been given everything we need. That all that could possibly have any value, like our peace, our joy, our certainty that we're taken care of, our awareness that we can heal our body, our knowingness that abundance is always going to be available. When you know that, your heart is open, your mind is still, love flows through you, things begin to happen in a fun and easy way. I have witnessed that. I have experienced that. Now, people who do it the hard way, call me Pollyanna or deluded or bypassing whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. At first, I used to want to convince them. It doesn't matter. They are where they are. They don't want to have their beliefs questioned, and that's okay. But when you shift and lift, things do get fun and easy. And God is saying that it would be fun and easy for us because God made it fun and easy for us, made us to have a purpose of pure happiness, pure joy. But we cannot experience that when we're clinging to a few things and call that the source of value, when they're nothing more than temporary things that come and go. And at the whim of other people, they will come and they go, and they get yanked from us, even though they tell us that they want us to have them. And when you place your belief in that is your source of safety, guess what? That house of cards will come crumbling down and you will have no foundation to stand on. Your foundation must be in the truth that is true always. Thanks a bunch, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.